Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DCEU Daily. I want us all to take a minute right now and think about what we achieved. We went to war with Hollywood, not just one studio, not just with Toby Emmerich and Kevin Tsujihara and a lot of other people. We went to war with Hollywood and we won. They call us toxic trolls. They call us whatever they want to call us. But ultimately, what we did and how we conducted ourselves, is it any worse than how Hollywood itself conducts itself? A young woman was shot and killed with a real bullet, using a real gun in this day and age on a set. And Alec Baldwin's PR team said, why don't you take a nice friendly Halloween picture to show that you're dealing with things very well. Tone deaf. Do you realise the kind of criminal acts that Hollywood enacts? And they've got the cheek to call us names. What did we do? We found out relevant information that Zack Snyder shot an epic Justice League movie. I don't know about you, but as a DC fan, I wanted to see it. And in my big, vast imagination, I imagined an amazing film. I said, Mick, calm down. It's not going to be as good as you think it is. No way, we all used to say that, didn't we? I did videos about it. We've got to calm down our expectations. Jesus Christ, it's a 4-hour epic. Who does that? Who makes a 4-hour movie about, comic book characters? Zack Snyder does. And the film works. And imagine if he actually had the time to perfect the movie, what it would have been. That's not me saying it's not a good movie. I'm saying this guy had to rush the VFX. He only had a small window because HBO Max wanted it at a certain time. And he delivers that. Imagine what type of movie he would have delivered if he had all the time in the world. It's a sensational movie. But I want you to remember to be proud of yourselves. Don't be ashamed when people label you as toxic trolls, because we did what we had to do. Now, personally, I never bullied anyone. Personally, that's just me. Now, when they were making hot takes about this movie doesn't exist, it's not complete, I was honest. I did videos about it because I've had my YouTube channel since 2018. And when they were saying this film isn't ready yet, I said that's irrelevant. Zack shot the movie. So all he has to do is sit there, edit it together, do the VFX, record over the music and the dubbing and all of what you have to do to put a movie together. So no, I was never saying, that the movie was cooked and ready to go, but the movie was shot. Think about this for a minute. This man was shooting Warner Brothers, chewing gum movie that ran out of flavour quickly, and shooting his own version of Justice League at the same time. Again, who does that? I mean, what was he saying to the actors? Right, this is the shitty version we're shooting. Now let's do my version. I mean, I think the actors must have known what was going on. They must have had a feeling. Because, if you're an experienced actor, you know that the guy's shooting a lot more than he would normally shoot. And people are thinking, what's he doing here? Shooting all 3 movies. That would have been interesting, wouldn't it? If he kind of found a way, while shooting the first one, he was shooting the second and the third one. But he just didn't have the time frame or the schedule to do it. I mean, that would have been amazing if Justice League 2 and 3 were ready to go as well. Maybe Snyder's got that up his sleeve. Obviously, he hasn't. Wouldn't that be amazing? But let's talk about the movie, because I do want you all, and I'm talking about myself here, to be proud of what we achieved. We went to war with a studio and we won, because what they did was very improper. Now, we've discussed this so many times as well, that they were being reactive to what the journalists were saying and what some of the fans were saying and what some of the hardcore DC fans were saying. In a way, I understand their actions, and I mean, Hollywood has been a toxic place since its inception. Whether that's the business of the public or not, that's a discussion for another time. And what the Snyder Cut is a beautiful immersive experience. What does the word immersive mean? What does an immersive experience mean? It means you immerse yourself into the film. It's pure escapism. It's like when we were talking about Batman v Superman yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed my Batman v Superman video yesterday. But it's basically what it is. The guy does make realistic, gritty movies, but they're also escapist movies. It's amazing, actually, because he both does fantasy, gritty and realistic at the same time. Who else has the ability to do that? Maybe Christopher Nolan, but he doesn't do it as well as Snyder does it. But it's clear that Nolan, when asked to godfather the DCEU, went to Snyder. First he went to Affleck, because he can do that as well, but not as effectively as Snyder. And he did. He went first. He went to Ben Affleck to direct Man of Steel. And Affleck said, hey, I just don't have the capabilities to do such a big film. He was honest, credit to Ben, but he got involved and played Batman in the end, which is great. And the Snyder Cut is an immersive experience. And I mean, I've said it a lot. I watch that film every single night. I mean, I watch it when I go to bed and shut my lights. So when I wake up in the morning, it's actually still on, because basically it goes from the Snyder Cut colour version to Justice is Grey, which is great. I'm really proud to have both versions. I still can't believe in my possession I have a 4-hour Justice League movie. Who's ever gonna top that? Only one person can top that, and that's Zack Snyder himself. Like we won the war to release the Snyder Cut, we can win the war to restore the Snyderverse, as impossible and as unlikely as it is, with Snyder being so entrenched with Netflix right now and what he's doing. But nothing's impossible, because the Snyder Cut being released seemed impossible. So let's look at the beginning of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. It's a very interesting beginning. As we discussed yesterday and so many times, Snyder likes to leap off from where he left off in the last movie. That's more interconnected than anyone's ever done. So the film opens up and you get this beautiful spanning image of the back of Superman, and you can see that when Doomsday it has put his claws in him, or whatever you want to see him, you can see one sticking out of Superman's back. And then you hear Superman, give this almighty scream. But you can't just hear it, you can see it. This becomes a beacon, and it goes through all the DCEU universes thus far, which I think is very interesting. So we go to Themyscira, we go to Atlantis, we go where Lex Luthor is, where he sees the kind of, I suppose, false ghost of Steppenwolf, if you like, we'll call it that. So everyone hears this scream. It's Superman's final scream, final act for the time being. And it's just a brilliant idea from Snyder and Terry. It really is, and it works, because what it does is, it already tells you that this is a movie, unifying all the worlds that he's been setting up thus far. I'm surprised the Suicide Squad universe wasn't shown reacting to this. That's interesting, but not a deal breaker by any shape or form. I'm just surprised. And I love the way, the camera, pans on Lois's reaction and Diana's reaction and Batfleck's reaction. It's so good. And the movie is just brilliant. And then we go to Ben Affleck's Batman, or Bruce Wayne, travelling to find Aquaman, aka Arthur Curry. It's very interesting because people criticise the introduction of these other characters, the way they did it in BVS. I like the CCTV stuff they did because it's quick, easy and clever. And also you don't have to waste too much time on it, because BVS is its own movie. It's not really a team-up movie, but what's amazing about BVS, already in the second movie, we're crossing over these DC characters. Batman and Superman meet in this movie, and Wonder Woman. Let's not forget Wonder Woman's in this movie as well. So BVS, that's why it's called Dawn. It's the dawn of justice. Some of these Justice League members are meeting for the first time. Who can forget seeing for the first time in the DCEU Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman standing there ready to do battle against Doomsday. It's so iconic, and the shot and the framing that Snyder does there, it is sensational. And so what Justice League does from the very beginning, it links in these characters very, very well. If we look at Ray Fisher's Victor Stone, Cyborg, I think the stuff they do with him is amazing. It's the kind of way I would do a Justice League TV series. What they do, individually, they focus on each character. So that moment when he has the flashback, when before his accident, and they show us how he gets his accident, and how he helps the woman and puts money into her account, and he's listening to his father's recording, you know, and he's explaining to him how it all works. It's such a great moment, because that moment we get to know that character. But if you leap kind of earlier in the movie, we spend a bit of time with Wonder Woman, who we got to know thoroughly in BVS and the first Wonder Woman movie really well. So we see her doing this whole rescue with this school trip. I don't know, is it a bank? Is it a museum? It's a museum, I think, whatever it is. And it's a great sequence. I mean, the Justice League version of it is so cut down and shit, but this is so brilliant and vast. And you can really see Wonder Woman for what she is. Not only do we see the dark element of Wonder Woman here that Snyder loves kind of displaying, but then you get the bit with the little girl. I want to be just like you when I grow up. You can be anything you want to be. That is everything that Wonder Woman is in one foul swoop. Compassionate, an icon to young children, but also this dark, epic, badass warrior. This is what Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins got wrong in Wonder Woman 84. They wanted to show the softer, compassionate side, but weren't willing to show the other side because they feel people are not interested in that. You're wrong. We want to see both sides. And we saw this in the first Wonder Woman film as well. We saw her more compassionate side and her interactions with Steve Trevor and his team, and the way she sits with those men and listens to their problems. As I say, bidding those supporting characters and actors was a fucking crime in Wonder Woman 84. You had the perfect characters. We loved them. We wanted to see more of them, Patty. And because of your toxicity and your hatred for what Zack did with the first movie, you went as far away from them as possible. And so every character gets their moment. We get a great Arthur Curry moment when he goes he goes to Atlantis and he helps Mira, and we get to know Mira. Now, Mira is a very interesting character in this film because she's got a very different accent to what she's got in James Wan's Aquaman. Now, I don't know what the decision was here, why she speaks differently in one film than the other. Canonically, it's a problem, of course it is, but again, it's just a small little nitpick. Now, this is an interesting one. What do I prefer? You know, hello, I'm Mira, or the other voice. This is interesting. I mean, I like both voices. We're talking about voices and accents now. Things must be dead, but no. I think it's interesting. I was surprised about this. I think I prefer how she speaks in the Snyder Cut, and it proves that Amber Heard is actually a very good actor. And despite what some people think, because before we saw Aquaman, Grace Randolph was saying, how can Jason Momoa and Amber Heard lead a movie on their own? Well, they did it. Let's be honest. They're front and centre in this movie. You know, and Patrick Wilson is brilliant in the movie as well. He's probably the top performance for me. But, you know, Jason's a great Arthur Curry in Aquaman. And, you know, Amber is a great Mira. As I say, I'm not interested in what goes on away from the movies. That doesn't bother me. They're all shitty people, right? Should we just accept they're all shitty people? I mean, Jason seems to be a lovely guy. I'm just saying, more often than not, they're shitty people. Everyone, elements of everyone, is that we're shitty people. No one's perfect, and neither is Amber. But anyway, and so it is interesting that Amber and Jason Momoa were able to have this really good chemistry as well, and I can't wait to see them again together in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So I do like her well-spoken, like, posh accent, because I think that's the way someone of royal blood in our imaginations would speak, and I understand why Snyder directed her to speak that way. So we get to see every Justice League member's kind of life before they join the Justice League. And I think Barry Allen's moment is great as well, because he goes to prison to see his father, and they have this really emotional, deep conversation. His father is worried about him. You know, you're doing 4 or 5, 6 jobs just to prove my innocence. Forget me. Don't come to see me again. And Barry's having none of it. I don't ever say that again. It's a beautiful emotional scene. Then we know he's got a little base. He's hiding away from the world, and Ben Affleck's Batman, Bruce Wayne, is waiting for him. And the interaction between Bruce and Barry is absolutely wonderful. And that moment when when Bruce throws the Batarang or whatever it is at Barry, it's a great moment. Classic Snyder slow-mo. It's such an iconic moment, and I love it. And can we just talk about Steppenwolf for a minute? What was Joss Whedon attempting to do with the Steppenwolf we saw? Now, is it Ciarán Hinds or is it Kieran? Whatever. Both movies, he gives a wonderful voice performance. But I mean, his voice in the Snyder Cut is sensational. And we actually get to know what his motivations are. He was cast out of Apocalypse by Darkseid. He did something to betray the new god. Betrayed a new god, should I say. And he's been cast out of Apocalypse. And now his motivation is to win back favour with Darkseid. And that really is so relevant, because he gets his moment in this film, which is great. He actually realises the anti-life equation is on Earth, the one planet Darkseid never defeated. So this is a big thing for Darkseid, and Steppenwolf knows it. He knows he's bringing him some very worthwhile, valuable information that can get him back to Apocalypse. And so that whole scene when Steppenwolf's telling Darkseid, it's here, he's got a lot of pride. I know something you don't know. This is something that is going to really please you. And I really love all that. I just love Steppenwolf's reaction to finding out that the anti-life equation is actually on Earth. And I got really excited when, you know, Steppenwolf name drops the multiverse as well. So it's obvious that the concept of the multiverse was not too far away from the thoughts of Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder. So if they remained, you know, on the DCEU, I think we would have got some multiversal events as well. And, you know, Zack said that he would actually do his own Flashpoint once his arc had finished. So it was all going to be there. So why not let the guy finish what he'd started? We know it was controversial. We know it wasn't making the money they wanted, but it was doing okay, right? So it's all a mystery to me. Basically, Sugihara just bent the knee, bowed to the pressure of entertainment media. And look what he did. Look what they got. They got Justice League, a far inferior movie. Now, we all know, for the first time in the DCEU, critics actually gave Zack a lot of credit for the Snyder Cut. The thing is with me, telling someone that it's better than that shitty movie that was released isn't really good reviews. I mean, there was some beautiful reviews that loved the movie. And isn't it interesting? Jack Kirby's son or grandson came out on Twitter and said, what a wonderful movie. He loved it, and he loved Darkseid in it. It's interesting because I haven't heard Jack Kirby's grandson or great-grandson or whoever be giving the same credit for Eternals, although maybe he hasn't seen Eternals, maybe he gets to see it when it's released. So we'll have to wait and see. So that's interesting. But it was great that Jack Kirby's family member loves the Snyder Cut as well. That shut down the haters straight away. And Darkseid. Wow. We all knew for a long time that Darkseid was going to be in this movie, but none of us really knew how many scenes he would get. Now, he's not in this film a lot, but Zack's smart here. He spreads him out along the movie because he knows he's going to be front and centre in Justice League 2. He knows he's going to be front and centre in the final battle in the third act of Justice League 3. So he just wants to tease him. But because he spreads him out so well in the Snyder Cut, it actually seems that we get a lot of him. I think we get exactly the right amount of Darkseid. And for me, you can never get too much dark side. Personally, Ray Porter's voice performance is sensational. Ray Porter is a very talented voice actor, and I think he should have been nominated for some award. But of course, we don't reward Snyder's movies because we live in that kind of entertainment era now. But that's okay, because the fans will rewarded him with their love and adulation and, you know, respect for what he accomplished. The Snyder Cut is no mean feat. I mean, as I said before, this is a 4-hour immersive experience. And as I say, what is my favourite, you know, what's my favourite part of the Snyder Cut? It has to be the history thing. Is it, what do we call it? The history lesson? We've had one, I think we've had one in Man of Steel. We had one in Wonder Woman. I think, did we have one in Aquaman? I can't remember now, but we certainly got some flashbacks and stuff. So Snyder does these history lessons so well. Yes, I know James Wan did Aquaman. I'm not taking away the credit for that wonderful movie from James. But this history lesson in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is my favourite moment. It's something that I've watched repeatedly on YouTube, on 4K, on my version on Amazon Video. I just think this is brilliant. And no one in comic book live action storytelling has equalled that. You've got all these characters, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, the humans, the Lanterns, all working fucking together. The gods themselves fighting against Darkseid. And Gal Gadot's Diana, aka Wonder Woman, narrates all of this, and it's so well done. My only issue with it is that I wanted more of it. In fact, Snyder, I'm sure, would have been willing one day to make that whole thing a movie. How amazing would that have been? But it's so great, and again, so immersive. You're so focused on what's going on, it's pure escapism. And it's great. It looks brilliant. The music from Junkie XL, as it always is as immersive as what you're seeing. It's so good. It's so brilliant and compelling. Yes, I love the history lesson in the Snyder Cut. And then the famous shot that leaked out, which I'm sure Zack leaked out. The stuff we found out that happened behind the scenes was secretly leaked by Zack. It's the only way we could have found out what was going on. Snyder was battling to get his movie released, and Snyder won. And he knew once he released the information, we would jump on it. I mean, we are a special type of fan, even if I do say so myself, because it's not just getting the information, it's how you use it in the public domain. And the Snyder fan base, the release of the Snyder Cut fan base, really were clever about what they were doing. And so I actually forgot what I was gonna say. That's it. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that sequence with Iris and Barry saving Iris. That sequence was leaked just after Justice League was released. That's when we really went to war. It's such a great moment because he goes into the pet shop to apply for the job. Him and Iris are giving each other eyes. So obviously this is the first time they've ever met. So their history is very different to, you know, Barry Allen's and Iris's in the Flash television show. And they play this music and it's so good. And instead of giving this moment when Iris's car is about to crash and she's gonna die if Barry doesn't save her, they do this slow-mo, classic again, classic Snyder slow-mo. And it's brilliant. And the music is perfect. It's just such a different, out there experience. And I do think about what it would have been like to watch this on a big 60-inch screen in a movie theatre. And I know some of you, especially in the United States, really got to do that. And you know, don't doubt it, I envy you a great deal. This telly's 50 inches. It's got Dolby Digital, you know, it's got Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, all of that. So it's a really good TV. But obviously it's not the same experience as watching it with other people in a movie theatre. So hopefully one day that film, maybe that's something we can push as a fan base to get it released worldwide in movie theatres. I think that's going to make a little bit of money. Not much, but a little bit, because we've all seen it. But I think Snyder fans would come out and, you know, embrace that experience. And I certainly would. That's for sure. It really is a movie of chapters. Literally. The movie is chapterized. It's got different titles. This again makes it really unique to other movies. And it cuts down the viewing time. So you're watching a 4-hour immersive experience, but it doesn't feel that way. It's interesting because he did the titles and the chapters because it was supposed to be a chapterized television series at first. And that changed. And I've explained why to you. That's when basically the Snyder Cut was going to be a one and done and they weren't going to carry on doing it. The reason it was pitched as a television series and the studio and Snyder wanted to do that is because they were going to do Justice League Season 2 and Justice League Season 3 the same way. Then Zack and the studio fell out yet again and it didn't work out, sadly. But I do think keeping the chapters in is really good. Because as I say, you can pause it, you can go for a drink, you can come back to it. Because you can literally on streaming now come back to anything, even on Blu-ray. It remembers where you left it, and I understand that. But it's always better to leave it at one of the chapters, I feel. Because none of the chapters are overly long, but they're not overly short either. So it really works, and I love all that. It's really great. And we get to that moment when they decide to bring Superman back. They work out what the boxes do. And the boxes literally they can rebuild everything about you. They're kind of like these little worker bees. They're fixers. I mean, they're very powerful and they're very dangerous as well. But they can literally fix you. Now, I think Superman can be fixed. I don't think we could be fixed because we'd have decaying cells and, you know, organs and all of that. Superman's cells are not decaying, or they're decaying slower. So they can, you know, the boxes can still save Superman. It's an interesting way of bringing him back. I must admit, when I saw Justice League, I was disappointed they didn't give him the rebirth they do in the comics and didn't have these different versions of Superman, like in The Death of Superman. But then I worked out this wasn't really a copy and pasting of The Death of Superman. This wasn't telling the Death of Superman story. And I think some people criticise him being killed off so early because they felt that Snyder was doing a Death of Superman copy and paste, and that's not what he was doing. But I love how they do it. I love how they get him out of the grave, or they get his grave and they take it back and they go to his ship. And, you know, Barry says, you know, they know he's here. That's brilliant. And Snyder's all for continuity. So, you know, in Man of Steel, you know, Cal's walking around the ship and he's wiping some of these kind of sleep chambers. And he's, you know, and obviously you can see like this disheveled skeleton. So you could, one of those sleep chambers has still got kind of where Cavill's Cal was moving the dust away. And I just think that's such a great touch. I was so excited that we'd won. I was so excited that we actually got to see this movie. Because as I said in the beginning of the video, I always imagined this film to be this amazing thing, the best thing I'd ever saw. And I think that's how we all felt. And when you feel that way, you are worried that you're going to be disappointed. If we would have been disappointed, it wouldn't have been on Zack, it would have been on us for getting carried away. But it was, in fact, more than we ever imagined. It was the film. But then the geezer adds more to the film. He puts Jared Leto's Joker in it. We see the nightmare future. And it's great. And that's really a continuation for the next film. Because the next film, Justice League 2, is supposed to be set in the nightmare future. Mostly. And I think a great title for Justice League 2 would have been Justice League Nightmare Future. Wow! What a title! Come on, Zack, let's do it! So that would be awesome. And do you know something else before we finish off for today? Ever since Zack has explained that Superman is leading a metahuman army against Darkseid in Justice League 3, I keep on imagining it, don't you? I keep on thinking about Superman back in his blue and red suit, leading a metahuman army in the Justice League to fight Darkseid. And I think to myself, that's fucking iconic, isn't it? Remember where we started? Where he was deconstructed in BVS, and where he comes back but still got the black costume on, or he's got the black costume on in the Snyder Cut, and slowly but surely he goes from, you know, being corrupted by the anti-life equation to being the hero that's been in the comics since 1938, being the hero we saw in Superman the movie and Superman 2. Snyder was going to take him there, but he wanted Superman to earn the right to be our Superman. And I think that's beautiful. And shame on you people who didn't have the patience to wait. I mean, imagine Lord of the Rings if we all lost our shit after Fellowship of the Rings. Is that all we get? No, you're getting more movies. Everyone was patient. But we lived in different times. Because believe it or not, we're talking about what? Nearly just under 20 odd years ago. I know, but it doesn't seem like a long time. But it is. And audiences' tastes have changed. The concentration levels have changed. And that's what killed the Snyderverse. Because the Snyderverse was always Superman's story. Other characters have their moments and their stories as part of it. But ultimately, not only is this Kal-El's story, but this is the story of how the DC Justice League is formed in the Snyderverse. And as I say, it's a wonderful franchise. Zack did a great job, and he can be absolutely proud, because in years to come, when we're all dead and gone, people will still be watching Man of Steel and BVS and the Snyder Cut like they are the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. This is DC's. The Snyderverse is DC's Lord of the Rings trilogy extravaganza. Now I know it was supposed to be a lot more than that, but at least we got that. That's better than nothing, people. And who knows what we could get next, because Restore the Snyderverse isn't over. We'll have to wait a few years to get it now because Zack's so busy, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, please subscribe, the most important thing of all, and smash the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. So I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, goodbye.